Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to our session on how to power up your Einstein Analytics using formulas, functions, and connected data sources. My name is Saurabh, and I work as a senior technical consultant at Groundswell Cloud Solutions. And how many of you have used Einstein Analytics before? Oh, wow, that's a great number. And how many of you have used SAQL before? That's awesome. We have a good mix of audience here. So the aim of this session is to show you some of the capabilities of declarative tools that you can use in Einstein Analytics and how you can use them to leverage and meet your complex business requirements. So before we dig into details, let me quickly introduce you to Safe Harbor Statement. I might make some forward-looking statement in my session. Please make all your purchase decision based on existing products and functionalities only. Let me give you a quick overview of who we are. We, Groundswell Cloud Solution, are Salesforce partners with our expertise in analytics and communities cloud. We have been in the Salesforce ecosystem for more than 6 years now, and I personally have been working for Groundswell Cloud Solution for more than 3 years, and I've seen the company grow from 4 to 40. We have already moved 3 offices, and most of all, for the project side of things, we have delivered some of the biggest projects on the platform today. Moving on to today's agenda, we'll quickly talk about what Einstein Analytics is, what is SAQL, what's its superpowers, and what are its complexities. And then we'll dive into what are the declarative tools, some of the declarative tools like compare tables, how you can use formulas, how you can use functions. And then we'll do a quick demo of compare tables and then move on to the connected data sources, do another quick demo about it, and then we'll quickly wrap up and do a recap of what we have learned today. So Einstein Analytics, as you all know, is Salesforce's business intelligence tool. And it has some of the biggest features, which is it is native, so you can use it within your page layouts, you can use it within your Visualforce pages, your Lightning components. It is intelligent. With the use of Einstein Discovery now, you can get some very smart insights and you can make actions, you can do things using those. It's really fast. It's really good with huge amount of data. You can run queries on millions of rows of data within seconds. And best of all, it's mobile. You can take it on your mobile app, you can see your dashboards there, you can put it on your smartwatch, see the numbers there. Isn't that great? That's great. So we have great features there, but how does it really work? How do I use Einstein Analytics? How do I make these dashboards? So Einstein Analytics let you bring data, integrate from different sources. That data then becomes a data set in Einstein Analytics, and then you can, using that data set, create some dashboards and share with your colleagues. So how do I create these dashboards and lenses? There are 2 different ways of doing that. You can either use some declarative tools, like you can do some basic grouping on your data sets, some basic filtering, you can apply some formulas, functions, or you can use SAQL. And people who have already used SAQL here might have noticed that in the past, if there was any requirement beyond basic grouping or basic filtering, you would end up using SAQL. So let's quickly take a look at what SAQL is. SAQL is Salesforce's analytics query language. It is really powerful. You can do almost anything and everything using SAQL. You can create very basic dashboards to very advanced dashboards using SAQL. And it is similar to and influenced by Pygmalion programming language, and it does have a bit of a learning curve. Let's quickly jump in and see what are its superpowers. So talking about superpowers, as I just said, it's really powerful. You can almost do anything and everything using it. You can perform some of the complex multi-data set joins. So if you have like 10 different data sets and you want to use it in one of your lens, you can perform different joins on those data sets using SAQL. You can perform unions to get all the data together and display it on your dashboards. You can also do selection and result binding. So to perform cross-data set filtering, and if you have some widgets that are running on one data set, you want them to filter based on a selection on the other data sets widgets, you can do it through SAQL. Some of its complexities are, it has a bit of a learning curve, but once you know your way around it, it has endless possibilities. The other complexity I would say is troubleshooting. So if you have a very huge query of more than 100, 200 lines, it'll be really hard to find out which specific step is causing your query to run slow. The next limitation or complexity I would say is the Explorer with limitation. So if you have a widget that's running on SAQL and you try to explore that widget, it won't give you a lot of options. You can't add measures, you can't add filters, you can't add more groupings. So that's a limitation to me. Okay, so now we know what's Einstein Analytics, what's SAQL, what are its superpowers, what are its complexities. Now let's see how we can power up our analytics without using SAQL, and if it's even possible. So let me quickly introduce you to compare tables. Have any one of you before used compare tables? Oh wow, awesome, cool. So compare tables, as you might have known, that when initially launched, they were really limited in functionality. But this has changed in past few releases. And I would like to give a big shout out to the analytics team who have done such a great job in redefining compare tables and bringing back the power into the hands of the administrators. So what compare table lets you do is it lets you add the same measure side by side. And you can add different filters to it. Not even that, you can have different filters to different measure. Isn't that amazing? Also, what you can do is you can perform some formulas, you can perform some functions on the data, and you can derive more measures out of your existing measures. So let's quickly see what analytics formulas are. So when you use compare tables, you can edit a column, and then you can either use formulas or functions. So if you hop onto the formula screen, it allows you to use the existing measure and derive a new measure out of it. And you use formulas like math operations, you can use SAQL methods, or you can use some case when then statements like if else. So that's really handy, and I'll show you how it really works shortly. Talking about analytics function, it's the same technique. It lets you add or derive another measure out of the existing measures, but it lets you use the super powerful SAQL windowing functions that weren't available without using SAQL before. So now you can just point and click and use some SAQL windowing function by just using some declarative tool. Isn't that amazing? So you can do sliding window, running total, percentage within group, and such things by just point and click. And the best thing about it is, if you look at the screenshot here, you have an option to add the function. It's a drop down. You can select which function you want to add. And once you add your function, you can switch onto the formula tab, and it gives you the SAQL, the corresponding SAQL for it. So using that, you can brush up on your SAQL skills. Like, I love SAQL, I do it all the time, but windowing function is something like I can't remember the syntax for. So it's way easier for me to just choose a windowing function from here, and then switch to the formula tab and see how it's really made of. Cool. So now we know what compare tables are, formulas are, what are functions. Let's take a real example and see how we can make this work in a real world scenario. So let's consider an example where we have Jane Doe. Jane Doe is owner of biggest retail chain all over the world. So they have retail stores all over the world. So she provided you with two different data sets here. One is retail and one is return. So retail data set consists of all the products that were purchased from their retail stores. And the return data set contains all the products that were returned to their stores. So she comes to you and she's like, you know what, I really want to find out how my company is doing all over the world. I just want to see what's the total amount we have made this month versus last month. And also, it would be really great if you can provide me the percentage change between them. As soon as you see or hear about percentage change, you're like, oh, I can do it in SAQL, right? But we'll try and do it here using compare tables and see if we can do it without using SAQL. Cool. So I just jumped into the retail dashboard, retail data set, and what she wants here, she wants to see the total amount for this month versus last month. So I go to the measures here and select sum of total amount. So this is the total amount for all the data we have. And what she wants to do is she wants to see how we're doing for this month. So I add a filter here on invoice date, relative to now, go to months, and then I say this month only. And then I have this number for this month. So now, what she also wants to see it for the last month, right? So what I do, I go back here, I try to use the sum for the same measure, I can't do it. I can't do it here, right? But if you jump onto here, on the right-hand side, there are three different options. One says chart mode, the other is table mode. Moving on to the table mode and jumping into compare tables. And now let's see if we can add the same measure again. So I go here, add the sum of amount again. Here we go. Isn't that amazing? So now I can add the same measure as many times as I want, and I can filter it here. So now she wants to see the other thing to be filtered by last month. So go back to months, moving it to last month, and here you go. So we have two numbers now, this month, last month. Now, she asked for a percentage change. And let's see if we can do it here too. So what I'm trying to do, so this is what we have done using compare tables. And now we'll see if we can use formulas we talked about here. So what I'm trying to do here is adding a placeholder measure. So we have another column which says count of rows. Now you can click on this arrow here and say edit this column. As soon as you click the edit button, it gives you an option of using either formula or function. So now you can apply your formula here, which is A minus B divided by B. So this is my formula to get the percentage change. And you know what? You can choose your format here. So you don't need to change the extended metadata here. So it, by default, gives you the option to use what format you want to use, and then you can apply. And here you go. We have the percentage change here. We didn't do anything. We didn't write any SAQL. We didn't write any code. All just by point and click, and you have the answers. So you will be wondering now, oh, what is this label? It's so weird. Can I just change it? Yes, you can. So you can just type it here, apply. You can go back to the other column. You can type last month and apply. So you can do all this by just point and click now, change things on the fly without using SAQL. Isn't that great? Cool. So Jane is really happy now with you. You have given the results like within 2 minutes. She's really happy. You are a super powerful user. She knows. Now what she wants, she comes back to you. I know now how I'm doing all over the world. I just want to see how different countries are doing. Which are their best months, which are their worst months, and I just want to see it country-wise. So let's see if we can do it. So I have this lens here already prepared. I'm doing the same thing. Sum of amount, and then I have grouped it by country. That's what she wants to see. And she wants to see how they're doing, what are their best months, what are their worst months. So I'm just grouping it by invoice date, year, month. So now, without using comparables, without using anything, if you try to sort it, I try to sort it descending, it just sorts it. It doesn't care about what country you have selected, it doesn't care about what is your grouping, it just sorts by the total amount. But that's not what she wants. She wants to see how a specific country is doing. So let's go back and then jump back to our favorite compare tables. And what compare tables let you do here is if you click on this arrow here, they let you do sort within groups. So see, Australia is still at the top now, and I can quickly see which were the best months for Australia, which were the worst months for Australia, and for other countries. Isn't that great? So now she's really happy. This is amazing. You've done such a great job, right? But she's like, this is just a wall of text. I just want to see how is Australia specifically doing. And I also want to see which months is contributing towards how much of the total the Australia is making. So she wants to find out the percentage within the group, right? So in this case, you'll see, oh, I can do it with using fin-doing function in SAQL, right? But now here, we'll try to use it with compare tables using functions. Let's see if we can do that. So right now, she only cares about Australia. So we filter it down by country and filter it to Australia. So we have Australia here. And now I'll do the same thing I did before, add a placeholder, count of rows, and then I'll go click on the same arrow and edit this column. And now I get two options here, formulas and functions. And you see this number for all other countries because I haven't applied the filter. Cool, so what we want to use the formula here, and we want to use percentage of group. And let's name it person. My source column that I want it to run on is sum of amount. I want the format to be percentage, and apply. Here you go. You have the contribution right by just clicking. We didn't write any SAQL again. And one more thing that you can quickly do here is clicking on this arrow gives you a show summary option. So you can just quickly click on that and see this is the 100% and which country is giving how many percent, which month is giving how many percent to Australia. Isn't that great? She's really happy now. Jane Doe is really happy. You're just pointing and clicking and you're just giving the results. What she really wants to see now, she doesn't care about the sum of amount. She's like, oh, can you just hide it? All I care about is percentage. Plus, the percentage is still a wall of text. Can you make it a more visual? I'm like, sure, let's do first thing first, which is she doesn't want sum of amount now, so we will just go and hide it. So all I did, just click on this arrow and hide. You can even show it as you want. Next thing, she wants to show it as bars. So what you can do, you can click on this measure here, and you can say show as bars. As soon as you do that, you can show it in the form of bars, and you can see from like anywhere that, okay, I know that November 2017 is the biggest month for Australia. Not only that, now you'll think, oh, can I just add it to my dashboard or no? Yes, similar to any other lens, you can just clip it to the designer, and then you can bring in a chart from the left-hand side, making it a little bigger, and this is the step that I just clipped, and here you go, you have the results. So we didn't do anything special. You can choose what chart you want to use. We didn't do anything special, and here you go. You have the result that she was looking for. That's amazing, right? We didn't do anything special, and we have the things we wanted to show. Cool. So let's quickly see what connected data sources are and what problem they're trying to solve. Cool. So connected data sources, you might have seen, like if you have a widget that's running on a data set, you want it to filter based on another widget that's running on a data set. You can do that by using faceting. You have all these widgets running on the same data set on one dashboard. You can just use out-of-the-box faceting, make it work. But in the past, if you had to do the faceting between two different data sets, if you have widgets running on two different data sets, you would have to use SAQL bindings for it. But now you can do that, the cross-data set filtering, using connected data sources. And let me just quickly show you in another quick demo of how you can do that. So taking the same example, Jane Doe comes back to you. She's like, you know what? I have this dashboard which is made up of two different data sets. So all the widgets on your left are running on retail data set. All the widgets on your right are running on the return data set. So this is a filter of country that's running on the retail data set, and if I apply this filter, the other steps that are running on the retail data set just gets filtered because I'm using faceting in the background. Similarly, if I filter it by the return date here and filter it to current month, the step that's running on the retail return data set gets filtered. Right? But what Jane Doe wants here is she don't want different filters for different data sets. She just wants you, if she's selecting a country here on the retail section, she should be able to filter down the return stuff. So let's see if we can do it through connected data sources. All you need to do is edit the dashboard here and click on these three dots on the extreme right. And you'll get an option of selecting connected data sources. So think of it as connecting two different fields from two different data sets. And it's not just about two data sets. You can have as many data sets as you want in the connected data sources. So let me create a quick connection. What I'm connecting here is, the first filter is about country. So I'm connecting country from return data set and country from retail data set. Retail and country. So we have these two fields from two different data sets connected now. The other thing we have is the invoice date. One invoice date is on return, and one invoice date is on retail. So we have connected this field too now, right? We have these connections, and let's close it and see our dashboard. Cool. So now I'm on the dashboard, which has two different data sets. I'm trying to filter it by Australia, and here you go. The widgets that are running on different data sets are now filtering without writing any SAQL binding, without doing anything special. Let's see if we can do the same thing using the return date. Okay, I'm going to months and current month only. Here you go. So now both your widgets getting filtered by your global filters, and now you have connected these data sets. Isn't that amazing? I didn't write any SAQL. I didn't spend like more than 2 minutes in doing this. That's really powerful. That's really amazing. So connected data sources or compare tables are really powerful, but they're not here to replace SAQL completely. You can do a lot of things. You can save a lot of time, but you might still need to use SAQL at some point to do very complex business requirements. Let's quickly do a recap of what we have learned today. So we talked about what Einstein Analytics is, what SAQL, what are its superpowers, its complexity, and then we talked about some of the declarative tools that you can use, like compare tables, connected data sources, and how they're so awesome and how they can transform the way we use Einstein Analytics. These are some of the Trailhead modules that I personally used when I was just going through learning compare tables, learning connected data sources. I will encourage you to go through these Trailhead modules, and if you have any further questions, just feel free to ask us. Thank you, everyone.